All right, now I want to bring in Congressman Mike Turner. Congressman, thank you so much for being here. Now, clearly there's a lot
Laura,
happening on Capitol Hill, but perhaps one of the only things that may be getting some bipartisan support is the Russia sanctions bill spearheaded by the late Senator Lindsey Graham, which would tariff countries that continue to buy Russian oil, gas, and other exports. You said, quote, Lindsey believed America must stand with nations seeking democracy because doing so strengthens our own security. We owe it to his legacy to ensure that commitment remains the foundation of American foreign policy. And last week, Congressman, you stood side by side with both Senator Lindsey Graham and Ukrainian President Zelensky. So give us a sense of that meeting. How was it? And why is passing this legislation so important?
Sure, Laura. Thank you so much. Well, Lindsey's passing was such a great loss. I mean, he was such a strong, America first, but America's voice for liberty and freedom. And he had personal relationships with America, on behalf of America, with leaders around the world, championing America as a cause and as a beacon. And he understood in championing Ukraine's fight against Russian aggression, that it was that fight for liberty and freedom. And this sanctions bill that Lindsey had championed understood that Russia is fueling that fight against innocent Ukrainians by selling their gas and their oil around the world. And this bill would make it more difficult for them to do that, more difficult for them to fuel their military, their weapons that they're using in aggression and to kill Ukrainians.
Well, maybe in combination with that bill, this will help kind of end things. This week, we heard from CIA Director John Radcliffe, who said that Russian recruits arriving on the front lines in Ukraine survive an estimated 20 to 30 minutes before they are killed or wounded. So could this possibly help? Could this last economic squeeze be what finally ends this violent conflict?
Right. President Trump has championed peace here, and this really could be what tilts it. Ukrainians have fought valiantly, and they have applied ingenuity on those front lines against this brutal force, using drones and drone technology to be able to withstand this brutal aggression by Russia, now being able to take their drones even into Russian territory, far into Russian territory, threatening Russian economy and Russian oil production. This could make a huge difference, as Lindsey championed. When we were meeting with President Zelensky, Lindsey was saying he was gaining momentum. We have passed a Russia sanction bill in the House. He knew that he was gaining momentum in the Senate. He was saying that he had, upon return, the Trump administration's, President Trump's support for this bill, which would give President Trump this as a tool to be able to, put pressure on Russia and hopefully bring peace back to this region.
Yeah, I think most people are kind of surprised at this point by how well Ukraine has stood up to Russia and the fact that they are still fighting back. It's really remarkable. However, there are still reports of Putin plotting an expanded offensive beyond Ukraine. So with that in mind, and with the ongoing conflict in the Middle East, this really doesn't seem like the time to be backing down on our own national security. And yet, Congressman, the National Defense Authorization Act, one that usually enjoys bipartisan support, remains blocked over in the Senate. So give me your message to those Democrats who have voted it down.
Right. So, we have got to be able to move forward on a bipartisan package for the National Defense Authorization Act. I do think that there's going to be an ability to both pass a National Defense Authorization Act through the House and then to conference with the Senate, hopefully to move forward a bipartisan package. But, there's nothing that shows weakness to our adversaries than Congress being unable to move a package forward to be able to support our men and women in uniform and to be able to give them the resources that they need. And I certainly hope that on a bipartisan basis, Democrats and Republicans, we're able to come together and move that package forward. You're absolutely right, Laura.